as a service or business as a service. I think subscription models are now more common. As a former also business developer, salesperson on the tech side 20 years ago, it was still like you had a license. So you basically negotiated around the license agreement. You had to do an escrow agreement depending on the need, but usually that was stuff. Today this is not really the regular process anymore, so it's more like a subscription of a service, which obviously then is cloud-based service provisioning. So the buy side or the wealth manager in that sense would actually log in to a portal and use the service. But for him, from a usability point of view, it's probably, I mean, at least the new user interfaces are much more modern, much more intuitive to use. And on the other hand, he also has then not to deal with any upgrades, etc., because it's just simply built on a cloud-based solution, which is provided by the solution vendor. Yeah, I think that what we call modern now or advanced banking systems, they actually have their roots back in the 90s, if not earlier. So they're basically relational database systems, and they still work in a more traditional way, license-based. You might outsource your whole operations, but I see more and more that this is actually not reducing costs that much anymore. So I'm really questioning in a way the scalability. I believe in scalability, but you probably have to reorganize, restructure the processes and the services, how they are used by the wealth managers. So I think if software as a service, component-based, API-based, so application programming interfaces, which then help to much easier integrate new services into your value proposition, I think that will then be allowed to dramatically reduce the costs. Very difficult to say, but in general, having known different markets, including London, I think wealth management private bankers are just very conservative folks. So it's a very, how shall I say, there is not the mindset of embracing change and being technology progressive. It's more like we rather don't want to deal with it and we do it the old way because it always worked like this. But on the other hand, you have all these increasing demands from regulation side, compliance, the processes, the overhead costs become higher and higher, margins go down. So I think for those who see and recognize that new solutions can actually really help them to adjust at least the operating model, if not the business model, that should really, these will win. These institutions or wealth managers, they will benefit from the change. And for the others, I rather don't really see such a rosy future. Yeah, that's a very good question. And one of the challenges we have in Switzerland, we have quite a good number of startups, interesting areas, but if you want to build and establish yourself in the Swiss market alone, despite being the leading private wealth market by size and assets, it's simply too small. So you have to export to scale. So you export your services abroad, either you use Switzerland as a hub, and you have a value proposition which can be applied globally. And there I see, especially in the regulatory tech environment, a big potential. First of all, the Swiss culture and mentality really supports how we can implement complex processes. And I always compare that when you see the big 5-star hotels with, you know, brigades in the kitchen of 150, 200 people, often they are German speaking and many of them are Swiss. So they're really able to orchestrate all this. I believe that's one space, but in general, the whole fintech, wealth tech, especially wealth tech, because of our traditional knowledge, I think we need to really look beyond the borders, and we have to somehow use the opportunity now to build up the new level of Swiss private banking and wealth management as a competence center by offering it globally as a service.